Good afternoon. My name is Scott Redler, Chief Strategic Officer at T3Live.com. Welcome to today's recap and look ahead. I'm sure you guys are all trading. There's lots going on after hours. I remember when Netflix and IBM reported and both were down big. A lot of people said that's going to be it for the market. Two holes poked, and then the next day the futures were up. I don't know if that's going to be able to be the case tomorrow when you have, Google down after hours, Microsoft down after hours, and Starbucks down after hours. So at least, the market kind of went out wishy-washy, and if you knew these earnings were all coming out, I'm sure most people have risk down, considering that the spiders closed below a prior low for the first time in a while. You look at the chart real quickly first at the S&P. Here is your double bottom. Here is your trend, above the 21-day, and there is the 8-day. So for the first time in a while, you actually had a small close below a prior low. So, if you didn't know earnings were coming out in anything, that would still be a signal to maybe reduce a little bit, because one day could lead to a little bit more. Last time, we closed below a prior low. We wound up working our way all the way back down to the 21-day. I'm not saying that's going to be the case this time, but you know what? The 21-day has moved up, and it's all the way over here. So, we'll see what happens tomorrow. But all in all, you take a closer look. The market has come, quite a long way. And at this point, momentum-wise, if you're trading it, and you've been long it and you've been riding it up, it's still a lot of room to the 21-day, and we're not even at the 8-day. So that's why when you get extended from the 8-day and the 21-day, you always have a lighter amount of positions. The only thing I went home long is the IBB because it showed some relative strength. So I tried to use some conventional wisdom, if there is any in me. First of all, this has come a long way from breaking these levels. It broke that level, broke this level, and then we started playing the options here, and then wound up holding this little red dog reversal there. So here is this strong close. So with the Dow down almost 100 points, the IBB is closed nearly on the highs. So with that being said, through this area, I was thinking that it's the next thing that can get to the 200-day. So if you take a closer look here, this is what you will see. So the question is, I figured if those earnings were good, it was strong today, it opens up. If the earnings are bad and it's trading lower like you have in some of those names, maybe more money rotates into bios. So if I could salvage a trade, buy more, add here, and get another trade. The other thing I did buy is just some options, on the VTF in this ILMN, thinking that, stock's been absolutely annihilated. Came in, there was no downside follow through, that maybe, within the next 2 weeks it fills some of the gap. So it's just something, I don't want to trade it. I just wanted to, hold it for a little bit, so that's what that is. Remember the penalty box speech? Well, I told you about that in IBM, and it said if you weren't trapped on earnings, which is why you don't take things in earnings, see if the post-earnings low holds, and it did with an inside day, and then today you had a nice trade into the gap. So nice day and a half move if you didn't take it into earnings, because that's what we don't do as traders, because you never know what's going to happen. So either way, disappointing earnings, went sideways into the gap. That's a nice little trade. Netflix did not do that. Netflix gave you that red dog reversal yesterday, okay, which was right here, and then if you go across, had no follow through. So at this point, still stuck in the bottom of this range, looking vulnerable. Not like IBM. It's not in this gap. So maybe people were a little worried about high beta tech because there's not much value there. There's high PEs, and we're not seeing the earnings growth. So they went after IBM, which is a little bit more value. So let's go into some of the earnings plays. Google, I just tweeted before that the 200 days at 713. Not sure exactly where it is right now, but for me, I was armed, thinking that if it was a strong report, you could either be a buyer here or a buyer here, which it wasn't. And then I said if it's a weak report, we'll see if it actually you have the 714 level right here, which went down to 717, and then you have the 700. So right now it's below the 50-day. So the question is, I think, let's see where it's trading as of 4:24 right now, because that's what time it is on this recap. Let's see. It is now trading at 740. Okay, so at 4:16, it's trading at 740. So it's kind of in a little bit of no man's land. What does no man's land mean? It's above the 200-day, below the 50-day, and they were pricing in a 40-point move. So if you go back to the chart, you'll see, from 780 to 740, this is probably around where the options guy would want it, because if you bought a straddle because you didn't know which way it would go, you lose here. you know, if it went all the way down to here, you would make your money because it was above what the cost of the straddle was, etc. So, you know, I guess see what happens here. It's been doing a lot of work around 730. You know, here's your 740, 746. You know, but I would just wait and we'll come back in, you know, tomorrow. Microsoft is also down. This stock is, you know, missed by 2 cents, priced for perfection, considering right near all-time highs. So granted, you know, if it was down here and missed by 2 cents, it might price it in, but up here, missed by 2 cents, you know, you might see a bit of a pullback, but there's a lot of money behind Microsoft. So, you know, this is one level right here, this 53.41, and then here's your next level. So see if you can hold this spot after hours, and if not, you have this spot. And then again, we'll take a look at it tomorrow. StarBucks was also down after hours. This has, you know, a big time base, you know, where it seems as if it's, you know, in this rounding type bottom. But again, you know, these names that are near all-time highs, you need to have good earnings. You can't miss earnings and miss on revenues. You know, I'm not exactly sure what they reported, but it was down like $2 after hours. So, you know, just using a quick snapshot, this would be one support, and this right here would be bigger support. And you don't get a big chance to buy these blue chips, so we'll see what happens here tomorrow. So all in all, you know, some earnings after hours look, you know, to the downside. We'll see how beat up they get, and then once they, you know, set that day up, okay, you know, like you saw in IBM and Netflix, you know, then you get to figure out, you know, what kind of trades you could have. IBM, you could have been a buyer for 2 days, great. ILMN, after the day, you also could have been a buyer. Netflix, a little wishy-washy. So we'll see what they do, you know, with Google, Microsoft, and Starbucks for tomorrow. As of right now, you know, they bounced off some levels, but, you know, I would just, you know, give it some space and let's revisit. The buyers did go out strong, so we'll see if they buck the trend and whether, you know, some more money rotates there as that group's been playing catch up. You saw BAIB today, you know, closed real strong. Stock was a very expensive stock, had good earnings, closed near the highs of the day. You know, so if this can get over this spot, overall that would be good for the, you know, the IBBs, and it did close on the highs with some volume. So if we're lower with the futures tomorrow, maybe this is something to turn to, and then if it went above this, you get an extra trade. You know, Facebook probably down in sympathy. You know, with Google, last few times it was up in sympathy. You know, someone asked me what's the level there of support. The level of support for Facebook for after hours, really, you know, this is big support. This is really, I would only say, you know, stick your neck out there. And then you have some small support right around this 111.50, somewhere right around there. So, or 111.20. So, you know, it's down in sympathy. Maybe you could scoop some, and if all of a sudden the conference call, Google starts talking about why they missed it, and people just want to give it a pass, maybe it comes back up. But I would revisit. You know, if you took Facebook into it, you knew what you were getting into. But this also stock doesn't have earnings till next week. So all in all, you know, we're about a week through earnings. You know, the banks acted the best after earnings because they were from the lowest ground. We had a nice move, you know, in Goldman Sachs, and yesterday I sold it on the close, and today it was off a little bit, maybe down futures tomorrow. You know, you could buy a dip here in Goldman. You know, at this point, you know, guys are looking for a short. Well, here's your topping tail. So maybe, you know, into this spot you could buy it. With my day count rule, you had a day 1, day 2, day 3. That's why I sell. Day 4, you even had a chance to sell before reversing. So maybe it comes in if you're short overnight. JP Morgan probably looks similar with a red dog reversal top, even, you know, a little bit more downside. So, you know, here is that. That's why we don't chase scenarios after 1, 2, 3 days. So we'll see if it comes into here. But all in all, you know, not a heck of a lot. You know, the market maybe bending a little bit, you know, with some holes in it, which is why you go from a portfolio approach of 6, 8, 9 positions down to 2 or 3, or just back to tactical, you know, or in things that you have a reason for. Some guys, if you're short overnight, you'll see if you get some downside follow through. I know some guys got short this FCX. Why? Because you had your first potent down bar. Okay, potent down bar engulfing a spot, you know, usually leads to a little bit of downside. You know, look at the move that this has had. So again, if you're looking for trades and you're looking for setups, you've had quite a few here. And I guess one more thing, I keep having some things come to my mind. You have BABA. All in all, you know, you had your nice trade above this 80. Didn't break down. It didn't, you know, take off. But at this point, at least, let's see if it sets up another pivot above 40, you know, to take out this, 80, to take out this 81.50 for some higher prices. You know, the trend since this gap has been up. It's been above the 8 and 21 day for quite some time. And as long as that's the case, you know, stay with this buying dips and playing some breakouts. And I probably said in conclusion 5 times because I keep having ideas pop in my head because I don't use a teleprompter. I'm just talking about things that were on my mind that I was trading and looking at all day long. You have a lot of 2A action. You have a lot of risk during earnings season. You have a lot of rules you need to follow so you don't blow up. And hopefully you're doing that and making some progress because the market's been very tradable. Have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow.